Bridget asked Juliet about her M1 grades. Lincoln poured wine. When I mentioned the interview, Bridget said, "Yes, we'll see how it goes. Yale isn't for everyone." Juliet sat down her fork and looked at me for the first time all night. She said, "You know I'm here now. You know what that means." I didn't answer. After dessert, I went upstairs and put the blazer down. I wanted to steam it for Monday morning. The laundry room opened off the kitchen with a doorway into the family room where everyone was sitting on the couches. I laid the blazer on the ironing board. I plugged the iron in. I turned my back for 8 seconds to fill the spray bottle at the sink. When I turned around, Juliet was standing in the doorway with a gallon of bottle of bleach. The cap was off. She walked to the ironing board, lifted the bottle and poured it down the front of the blazer. She did not stop until the bottle was nearly empty. The wool absorbed it. The bleach hissed against the warm iron. The stain bloomed orange and yellow across the navy fabric, 18 in long. She looked up at me and smiled. My mother from the couch did not lift her eyes from her phone. "Stop making a scene, Elizabeth. It's just a jacket. You're always so dramatic." My father, half a glass of wine in, said, "Your sister is going through enough. Don't ruin this for her." I stood there with the iron still hot in my hand. I did not turn it off for a long time. I did not yell. I did not cry. I did not throw anything. I had spent years before that night imagining what I would do if my family ever crossed a final line. I had imagined every kind of scene. What I had not imagined was that when the line was crossed, I would simply turn the iron off, fold the blazer over my arm and walk upstairs. Juliet returned to the couch. Bridget did not look up. Lincoln poured Bridget another glass. I sat on the edge of my old bed for 40 minutes with the blazer in my lap. The orange stain was already cooling into something permanent. I did not try to rinse it. I knew I couldn't save it. I had used enough hospital laundry products to know what bleach did to wool. Then I noticed something. Juliet had not done this because she was angry. She had done this because she was afraid. I did not yet know of what. I slept 4 hours. At 5:15 on Monday morning, I came down the stairs in the bleached blazer. The house was dark. My parents were not awake. Juliet was not awake. I did not leave a note. I drove 135 miles to the New Haven in silence. I crossed Hartford. I crossed Meriden. The sun came up on my left shoulder, somewhere outside Wallingford. For the first time in 14 months, I cried. I finally let myself cry for 30 seconds. Then I stopped and I kept driving. I parked at the Sterling Hall of Medicine at 7:58. I had 3 letters of recommendations in a folder. I had a personal statement I had rewritten 6 times. I had a bleached blazer and a quiet Monday morning behind me. I had no idea what the man who would interview me at 11:15 had been waiting 14 months to meet me. The admissions assistant checked me in at the front desk. There was 8 applicants that day. Each of us had 3 interview slots, 10, 11:15 and 1:30. My first was Dr. Phoebe Linwood, Associate Dean of Student Affairs. My second was Dr. Hudson Mario, Dean of Administrations. My third was Dr. Reed Larkin, Director of Admissions Operations. The assistant looked at her screen and added, almost in passing, "Your second interview is with Dr. Mario. He requested this slot specifically. That happens occasionally." I noted it. I did not understand it yet. Linwood interviewed me first. She was warm in a professional way. She asked about my clinical experience. I told her about Dana-Farber and Boston's Children, about bilingual navigations, about the families. She made a small sound when I mentioned 3,200 hours. "That is not typical," she said. "Most candidates have under 1,000. She did not mention the bleach on my blazer. I had decided I would not bring it up unless someone asked. I walked out of Linwood's office at 10:50. I had 15 minutes. I spent 8 of them in front of the woman's bathroom, looking at the stain and deciding what I would say if Marlowe asked. I decided I would tell the truth, the whole truth, not a softened version. At 11:15, I knocked on Marlowe's door. His office was wood-panelled. There was photographs of children's hospitals on the wall, 3 framed awards, a desk with 1 closed folder and 1 open laptop. He stood, shook my hand and motioned me to the chair. He was 60 years old, grey-haired, softened eyes, calm. He was silent for 5 seconds longer than normal. He was looking at my blazer. He cleared his throat and said, "Mrs. Bellamy, tell me about a patient who changed how you think about medicine." I had prepared 3 different answers for this question. I used none of them. I told him about Linny. I told him her full name. I told him her diagnosis. I told him about Sophia, about Patrick. I told him about Charlotte's Web in the chemo room and about her window facing east. I told him what she had said the morning the sun came up after 2 days of MPO. I told him about the relapses, the hospice, the last weeks. I spoke for 6 minutes. He did not interrupt me. When I finished, he did not ask another question. He did not thank me. He stood, he walked into his desk drawer, the second drawer on the left. He opened it, he pulled out a thin folder. From inside the folder, he took out one folded piece of paper. He set the paper on his desk. He did not turn it towards me yet. "Mrs. Bellamy," he said, "I am sure I am hearing what I think I am hearing. Lily O'Donovan, B-cell, all diagnosed August 2022, treated at Boston's Children, Mother Sophia, father deceased, window facing east, Charlotte's Web. You are that Elizabeth?" I said yes. He sat down, he looked at the bleach on my blazer, he looked at the name on the file on his laptop, he looked at me. "Then I have been waiting 14 months to meet you." He paused. "Wait, you're her?" He turned the paper around. I recognized the handwriting before I read the first word. The accents were still there over the Spanish words. The slope of the letters was the same slope of every note Sophia had ever written about Lily's appointments. It was Lily's voice in her mother's hand. Marlowe read it out loud, slowly, without performance, to the people who is a doctor. "Please pick Elizabeth Bellamy. She held my hand when I was scared. She told me my words in Spanish when my mother did not know the English. She read me Charlotte's Web in the chemo room. She's already a doctor in the ways that matter. Please, Lily O'Donovan, age 9. He set the letter down. He folded his hands. "This came to me through Dr. Neal at Boston's Children on August 18th, 2024. Dr. Nell and I trained together in the early 2000s. She forwarded it to me with one line for when this applicant arrives. I did not know when you would arrive. I did not know if Lily had survived. I learned that part later. This letter had been in that drawer for 14 months. He let the silence sit. Then he said, "Mrs. Bellamy, this is a second piece of evidence in your file that I cannot legally show you in this room. It was submitted by a third party, but I can tell you this. Someone else in your family used elements of Lily O'Donovan's story in their own application essay to this school last year. I noticed the overlap when your statement arrived this fall. I have been waiting to meet you to understand which version of the story is true." I held very still. I did not speak. He stood again. "You have one more interview at 1:30. Please take it as scheduled. After today, I will be in touch. This is a formal process of what happens next. I want to walk you through it properly." He held the door for me as I left. I walked out of Sterling Hall at 12:08. I had 82 minutes before my next interview. I sat on a bench under a leafless oak tree in the courtyard. I tried to think of who my family had been reading the drafts I kept on the family Google Drive. I had already knew. I drove back to Brooklyn that afternoon at a slower speed than I had driven down. I called Ingrid from the road. She picked up on the third ring. I said, "Ingrid, I need to ask you a question. Did you ever know that Juliet, my sister, claimed to have shadowed at Boston's Children?" There was a pause. "Elizabeth," Ingrid said. "She never set foot in our unit for more than 90 minutes at a stretch. 4 times in 3 years. I kept a record of every observer who came onto the floor. Why are you asking me this now?" I told her I would call her back. I had one more call to make first. I dialed my mother. She picked up cheerfully, the way she always picked up when she was performing for someone who wasn't there. "Elizabeth, sweetheart, how did it go?" I did not answer that question. I said, "Mom, did Juliet write about Lily O'Donovan in a Yale application essay?" The silence was 4 seconds long. 4 seconds is a long time on a phone call. My mother's reflexes were too fast. Her surprise was too slow. "Elizabeth," she said, "what are you talking about?" I did not say Lily's last name. My mother did not ask who Lily was. My mother did not ask why I was asking. My mother said, "You are exhausted. Come home tonight. We will talk." I said, "No, I am going to my apartment. I will call you when I'm ready." I hung up. My mother had known the name. I never told her. At 9:15 that night, I received an email from Marlowe sent to my verified application address. "Mrs. Bellamy, thank you for your candor today. I would like to schedule a follow-up conversation. I am prepared to walk you through the formal options available to you, including a complaint to the Yale School of Medicine Committee on Honor and Professionalism. That is the body that handles academic integrity matters within the school. I will also need a written statement from you regarding your professional relationship with Lily O'Donovan and her family if you are willing to provide one. I will also reach out to Dr. Neal at Boston Children to confirm the chain of custody of the letter. Please confirm a time within the next 10 days. Hudson Marlowe, MD, Dean of Admissions." He attached a 1-page summary of the committee's process: complaint filed and review in 2 weeks, investigation in 4 to 6 weeks, formal hearing decision. I scheduled the meeting for March 3rd. That gave me 2 weeks to find every piece of paper my mother had ever touched. I sat on the floor of my apartment with my laptop and a yellow legal paper. I opened the family Google Drive. I went to my personal statement draft, the one I had written in April of 2024. I clicked on the version history. The document had been modified 23 times between March 14, 2024 and May 12, 2024, all by me. There was one access entry that did not match my pattern. May 14, 2024, 28 in the morning. Account Bridget Bellamy, no edits, just viewed. I wrote on the yellow legal pad, patient navigator log, Ingrid will pull, Boston's children badge log, Juliet Hospital Security will pull my draft person statement, Google Drive version history, Juliet submitted Yale application, committee can request, my mother's text message only if Lincoln will hand them over, the drawing, where is the drawing? There was one part of the file Marlo could not show me, a part written by my mother. I would have to find that one myself. The honour committee process began on March 4th. I drafted a formal request and sent it to Marlo. I asked the committee to compare my submitted personal statement from the 2025 cycle with Juliet's submitted personal statement from the 2024 cycle. Specifically, the paragraphs referencing a pediatric oncology patient. I attached my original draft document from spring of 2024 with Google Drive version history showing my authorship date. Marlo replied within 18 hours, the request has been received. The committee has authorized to perform the comparison under Section 4.2 of the Honor Code. The process will begin Monday. I have set something in motion that I could no longer take back. I did not want to take it back. That same week, Ingrid sent me 3 files. She had requested the records on Monday morning through hospital security under the Internal Volunteer Coordination Audit Policy. She had been at the Boston Children 24 years. They trusted her. The file was my patient navigator log, 3,200 total hours across my caseload. 1,118 of those hours were specifically with Lily O'Donovan and her mother. Bedside reading, translation, family conference, hospice support. After hours visits I had logged because I had been trained never to leave navigator time unaccounted for. The second file was the visitor badge log for Juliet Bellamy. 4 entries. Total time 5 hours 22 minutes across 3 years. Visit 1, April 23, 2022, before Lily had ever been admitted. Visit 2, November 12, 2022, on the floor but never in Lily's room. Visit 3, May 6, 2023, brief, never in Lily's room. Visit 4, February 18, 2024, brief, never in Lily's room. Juliet had never met Lily O'Donovan. The third file was Kelsey, clinical handover. 38 entries referencing my presence with the family. Ingrid attached a note to the package. Elizabeth, I have been a social worker for 24 years. I have seen many things. This is amongst the cleanest contrast I have ever pulled from my records. Use it carefully. Use it once. 5 hours and 22 minutes. That was the entirety of the relationship my sister had claimed. In early March, Marlo called me on the phone. The call lasted 9 minutes. He spoke in the same tone he had used in his office. Mrs. Bellamy, the committee has compared its comparison of the 2 essays. The overlap is substantial. Specifically, the phrase, her face faced east, and she watched the sun rise even when she couldn't eat, appears verbatim in your sister's submitted essay. The probability of 2 siblings independently writing that sentence about the same patient is, in our view, 0. The committee will request one more piece of evidence before escalating to a formal hearing. Is there anyone else in your family's possession? Anyone physically connected to Lily O'Donovan? I know the answer, I just did not know where it was yet. I called Sophia that morning. I had not called her in 4 months. She picked up nervous, the way she always picks up when she did not recognize the number on the screen, but recognized the name. Sophia, I said, I need to ask you something. Did you ever meet my mother in person? The sentence was very long. See, Elizabeth, October before Lily passed, there was a charity day at the hospital, a donor lunch. Your mother was there. I recognized her name because you had mentioned her. I went up to her and I said I have something for Elizabeth. She told me she would deliver it to you that evening. I gave her the drawing Lily made for you. I asked her to describe the drawing. She said it was a pencil on a hospital sketch paper pad. It showed me sitting in a chair beside Lily's bed holding her hand. On the back, Lily had written in her own shaky handwriting 5 words for when you graduate. Lily, age 9. I said, Sophia, I have never got it. There was a long silence. She started crying very quietly on the phone. She said, I thought you had it all this time. I thought you had it. I stayed on the phone with her for 45 minutes. I told her what was happening. I told her about the Yale committee, about Juliet's essay, about the letter Marlo had in his desk. She listened without speaking. At the end, she said, what do you need me to do? I told her I would call her back. there was something I had to do first. On the evening of March 3rd, my father called me. He had not called me in 14 months. His voice said, "Elizabeth, I need to see you."